Stakeholder management includes implementing strategies and actions to promote productive involvement of stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement activities start before or when the project starts and continue throughout the project. What are the main steps of stakeholder management, Mr. Izgi?
Mr. Tekir, as we see on the screen, there are 6 steps: identify, understand, analyze, prioritize, engage, and monitor.
Could you explain the first step, which is identify stakeholders?
High-level stakeholder identification may be carried out prior to forming the project team. Detailed stakeholder identification progressively elaborates the initial work and is a continuous activity throughout the project. Some stakeholders are easy to identify, such as the customer, sponsor, project team, end users, and so forth. But others can be difficult to identify when they are not directly connected to the project. As we see on the screen now, the stakeholder register evolves throughout the project, which we'll discuss in a while. After listing the names of the stakeholders, the other information in the columns will be figured out at later stages.
Could you explain the second step, which is understand stakeholders?
After the stakeholders are identified, we should seek to understand stakeholders' feelings, emotions, beliefs, and values. They can change quickly, so understanding stakeholders is a continuous action. These can lead to additional threats or opportunities for the project outcomes. For example, suppose that the project's outcome is a software tool which automates many actions. Lots of manual activities won't be needed after launch. The process will be simplified. People giving manual approvals and doing work during some of the processes might feel that the company will not really need them anymore. They might feel that they won't have enough job security. On the other hand, suppose that some project team members feel that while they work on the project, they acquire new skills. This will make them more valuable company-wide and also in the market. In other words, they consider the project a good opportunity for them. From the upper management point of view, this condition is also something positive, as the motivation and morale of the project team members will be affected in a positive manner. Also, people in general have positive feelings about the company too, although this is indirect.
Let's come to the third step, which is analyze stakeholders.
Similar to the previous step, the conditions can change quickly, so analyzing stakeholders is also a continuous action. In this step, we analyze the aspects of each stakeholder's position on and perspective of the project. The aspects considered will differ, such as power, impact, attitude, beliefs, expectations, degree of influence, proximity to the project, interest in the project, and so on. In addition to individual analysis, the project team should consider how stakeholders interact with each other, as they often form alliances that help or hinder the project's objectives.
Can you give an example?
Sure. As we see on the screen, a power interest grid can be prepared. During the times when I work as a consultant in companies, I emphasized that managing stakeholders, in other words, managing people, comes first. Then comes scope, time, cost, quality, and so on. The power and interest grid is a useful tool for analyzing stakeholders. This work helps us to find a management strategy as far as stakeholders are concerned. We explain this approach in more detail in our project management courses too.
The next step is prioritize stakeholders.
Yes, on many projects, there are too many stakeholders involved to engage directly or effectively with all of them. It's common to prioritize them using the power interest grid. As events unfold throughout the project team may need to reprioritize based on new stakeholders or evolving changes in the stakeholder landscape.
What do we do after that?
Preparing the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix is recommended. We evaluate the current and desired levels of engagement of the stakeholders.
What are the categories?
As we see on the screen, they are unaware, resistant, neutral, supportive, and leading.
How does this help the project manager?
The project manager thinks about the communication strategies to change each stakeholder's level of engagement from current to desired, and will decide what to do.
The next step is engage stakeholders.
Engaging stakeholders requires the application of soft skills such as active listening, interpersonal skills, and conflict management, as well as leadership skills such as establishing the vision and critical thinking.
Engaging the stakeholders means managing the communications with them. What are the types of communication?
Communication with stakeholders can take place via written or verbal means, and it can be formal or informal. We see some examples of them on the screen now.
What are the communication methods?
There are 3 of them: push, pull, and interactive.
Can you explain them?
Sure. Push communication includes memos, emails, status reports, voicemail, and so forth. Push communication is used for one-way communications with individual stakeholders or groups of stakeholders. Push communication inhibits the ability to immediately gauge reaction and assess understanding. In pull communication, the information is sought by the stakeholders, such as a project team member going to an intranet to find communication policies or templates, running internet searches, and using online repositories. Pulling information is used for indirect sensing of stakeholder concerns. Interactive communication includes an exchange of information in real time with one or more stakeholders, such as conversations, phone calls, meetings, brainstorming, product demos, and the like.
Interactive communication includes a feedback loop. How is this useful to the people?
A quick feedback loop provides useful information to confirm the degree to which the other person heard the message. It becomes easier to determine if the other person agrees with the message. One tries to identify nuances or other unintended messages the recipient detected.
The next step is monitor stakeholders.
Yes, it is the last step. Throughout the project, stakeholders will change as new stakeholders are identified and others cease to be stakeholders. As the project progresses, the attitude or power of some stakeholders may change. The project manager should assess whether the current engagement strategy is effective or if it needs to be adjusted. Therefore, the amount of effectiveness of stakeholder engagement is monitored throughout the project.
How can we determine the degree of stakeholder satisfaction?
The degree of stakeholder satisfaction can often be determined by having a conversation with them. Project and iteration reviews, product reviews, stage gates, and other methods are ways to obtain periodic feedback. For large groups of stakeholders, a survey can be used to assess the degree of satisfaction. Where necessary, the stakeholder engagement approach can be updated to achieve higher stakeholder satisfaction.
So, Mr. Izgi, we have reached the end of this video. Thanks for watching us. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and like our videos.